Namaste Bitya. Myself JVN Neha Seni from Physiotherapy and Diagnostics. Today I am going to tell you about the anatomy of arches of foot. So, in case of child, when it starts walking without support at 18 months of age, myelination of pyramidal tracts begin. Arches begin to get shape. The human foot performs supports of the body weight, serves as lever to propel body in walking and running. These functions are carried out by the foot skeleton, which is made up of series of small bones. The foot acts as segmented lever with multiple joints, thus become pliable and adapts to uneven surfaces. The long flexors and intrinsic muscles of foot act on four parts of foot and assists in propulsive action of gastrocnemius and soleus. The arches of foot are divided into two categories, the longitudinal and the transverse. The concavity of both arches directed to the plantar surface. Functions of arches are proportional distribution of weight. So in this diagram we have taken example, if the body weight is 120 pounds, it has been divided into equally into two foot, that is in the right it is 60 pound, in the left it is 60 pound. In case of right foot, this 60 pound is divided into 30 pounds on the right calcaneum and 30 pounds on the heads of 5 metatarsals. In case of first metatarsal, there is 2 sesamoid bones under the helix, so it is divided accordingly. So we have 6 bearing points at the anterior end of the right foot as well as left. Functions of arches includes the arched foot acts as a segmented lever, means the foot skeleton is made up of series of small bones. Foot acts as segmented lever, segmented means smaller, with multiple joints, thus become pliable and adapts to uneven surfaces. Then the plantar concavity of the foot protects the plantar vessels and the nerves from compression. If there is flat foot, it leads to compression of these nerves and vessels, which causes metatarsalgia. Arched foot is dynamic and flexible. When foot is on the ground, arch becomes flattened. When it is off the ground, it restores its original contour. It acts like a springboard. Inverters lift the foot on the medial side and shift the weight to the lateral border. Inverters are the tibialis anterior muscle and the tibialis posterior. Everters lift the foot on the lateral side and shift the weight to medial border. Everters include the peroneus longus, brevis and tertius muscles. Now we have two arches, that is longitudinal arch, which is divided into medial and the lateral longitudinal arches. Then transverse arch, which is divided again into anterior and the posterior arches. The diagram is showing the anterior and the posterior arches as well as the longitudinal arches. Now the factors which are maintaining these arches includes the shape of the bone, staples which are binding these bones, tie beams which are binding the anterior and the posterior, pillars and the sling which is hanging this center of the arch or the upper part. So these are the mechanisms of the arch or the bridge which are for the support. So the shape of the bones is wedge shaped, stones with thin edge of the wedge lying inferiorly. This is especially true for the stone at the center of the arch. This stone is known as keystones. The staples, they tie the inferior edges of the stones. Tie beams connect the pillars and prevent the separation. Then there is suspension by the sling. So these are the methods for maintaining the arches. So these are the structures which are forming the medial longitudinal arch. So first we consider about the longitudinal arches. In the longitudinal arches, we are concerning about the medial longitudinal arch. So medial longitudinal arch has the summit. Summit means the highest point. It is formed by the trochlea, the upper surface of the talus. Posterior pillar, it is formed by the medial tubercle of the calcaneum. That is, in this diagram we can see the calcaneum, the posterior pillar, the medial tubercle of the calcaneum. Summit is the highest point. It is formed by the upper surface of the talus. So this is the talus, the upper surface. Then anterior pillar, it is formed by the medial 3 metatarsal bones, which are highlighted in this diagram with a green color. And the key bone, that is the keystone of this arch, is the highest point, that is the head of talus. So here we can see the anterior pillar, the posterior pillar, the summit of the arch, and the head and the vulnerable part of the medial longitudinal arch. So the factors which are maintaining the medial longitudinal arch are the shape of the bones, the wedge shape with thin edge downwards, and here the talus is the keystone, which is resting on the concave anterior surface of the naviculum and on sustentaculum talli of the calcaneus. Then the intersegmental ties like staples, these are provided by the plantar ligaments, spring ligament, and the permanent stretch of the spring ligament is producing the flat foot. So if there is injury to the spring ligament, it is causing the flat foot. Then tie beams over here, these are done by the plantar aponeurosis, the abductor hallucis muscle, the medial part of flexor hallucis digitorum brevis, then flexor hallucis longus, flexor digitorum longus, and medial hallucis brevis. So suspending arch from above, that is the suspension, is provided by the tendon of tibialis anterior, superior fibers of the deltoid ligament, and the tendon of tibialis posterior. In the diagram we can see the suspensions as well as the pillars. Now the talocalcaneo-navicular joint, this is providing this, the plantar calcaneo-navicular ligament, that is your spring ligament on the inferior side. So this image is showing the spring ligament. The medial arch is very tall, which is very having a footprint on the ground. So this is why the medial edge of the foot is missing from the footprint and is extremely resilient due to its large number of component bones. Now we come to the lateral longitudinal arch. This is the lateral view of the foot. Here we can see the anterior pillar is formed by the heads of 4th and 5th metatarsal. Posterior pillar is formed by the lateral half of the calcaneus, and the summit is formed by the talus, that is the subtalar joint. The vulnerable part of this arch is formed because of the calcaneo-cuboid joint. So here we have enumerated the factors which are maintaining the lateral longitudinal arch. First is the calcaneal angle of the cuboid, which supports the anterior lower articular surface of the calcaneus, that is the upward tilt of the long axis of the calcaneus. So here is the calcaneal inclination. Then intersegmental ties like staples, these are provided by the long and the short plantar ligaments. Then the factors which are acting as tie beams, these are plantar aponeurosis, abductor digiti minimi, lateral part of flexor digiti brevis, lateral part of tendon of flexor digitorum longus, then flexor digiti minimi brevis. So these are acting as tie beams, that is which are tying the anterior and the posterior pillars. Then suspending arch from above, that is the suspensions, these are provided by the tendon of peroneus brevis and the tertius. These are exerting the sling action. Peroneus longus is having a long course below the foot and it is acting as sustentacular action. So here we can see the staples, the long and the short plantar ligaments, and the slings, which are provided by the tendon of peroneus longus and the brevis. So these are the tie beams, that is your plantar aponeurosis. This is another suspension formed by the peroneus longus muscle for the lateral longitudinal arch. So the arch is flat and is contained relatively less number of bones and hence more rigid. It bears the body weight before the medial arch and comes in contact with the ground. So here we have demarcated the medial and the lateral longitudinal arches of the foot. Now come to the transverse arch. The medial border of the foot are approximated, a close, complete transverse arch is formed. So these are two in number, the anterior and the posterior, and each foot represents a half dome. The interior is formed by the heads of 5 metatarsals and posterior is formed by the major part of tarsus and the bases of metatarsus. So this is the transverse arches, anterior and the posterior. The factors which are maintaining the transverse arches includes the shape of the bone. Again, it is a wedge-shaped, cuneiforms and the bases of middle 3 metatarsals. The staples include the deep transverse ligament, intrinsic plantar ligaments, dorsal interosseous, oblique and transverse heads of the adductor hallucis, and the tie beams include the peroneus longus and the tibialis posterior. The slings are the peroneus brevis and the tertius laterally and tibialis anterior tendon medially. So these are the slings and the staples. These are the plantar interosseous in the foot. This is adductor hallucis in the foot. Then the deformities of the foot. First is pes planus, means the flat foot. When the arches are absent, it is resulting into the flat foot. Then pes cavus, these are high arched or the foot. There is exaggeration of the longitudinal arches. The toes are dorsiflexed at the metatarsophalangeal joint. The joints are plantar flexed at the interphalangeal joints, and this is the claw foot. So here we can see the normal footprint and the flat foot and the highly arched foot, which is known as pes cavus. This is again the pes cavus. This is the club foot. It is the talipes. It is congenital or acquired deformity in which the infant's foot is turned inward, often so severely that the bottom of the foot faces sideways or even upward. This is the talipes equinus. Toes are dorsiflexed and directed to the ground, similar to the horse. So it is when the horse moves, just the similar way the patient suffering from talipes equinus moves on the toes. Talipes calcaneus, when the heel remains on the ground toes and are turned upward. Talipes varus, when the foot is fixed in inversion and adduction. Talipes valgus, when the foot is fixed in eversion and abduction condition. So these are the different talipes of the foot. The talipes equinus, talipes calcaneus, talipes cavus, talipes varus, talipes equinovalgus, talipes calcaneovarus, talipes valgus, talipes calcaneovalgus, talipes equinovalgus. Now another deformity is march foot. Here the neck of the intermediate metatarsal undergo decalcification. It is a minor injury, may lead to pathological fracture, commonly observed in soldiers who have prolonged walk after prolonged sedentary rest. Then hallux valgus. Here The great toe is adducted towards the midline and the first metatarsal is abducted. It is because of wearing of narrow pointed shoes result in undue prominence of medial part of metatarsal head, and a bunion bursa may also develop. So this completes our topic, the arches of foot. Thank you. Now, after reading the chapter about the arches of foot, we discussed the questions which can be asked in your exams. So the first question for this is the write in detail about the medial longitudinal arch and its clinical applications, that is aspects. So in this we discuss about the different factors which are maintaining the medial longitudinal arch, various links, staples, the bones, the summits. So after discussing that, we draw the diagram of medial longitudinal arch and also write the clinical aspects around about the medial longitudinal arch. So this is very important questions in your exams. Along with this, lateral longitudinal arch is also very important, but this is more important than lateral. And in the file you draw this diagram, the well-labeled diagram for this arches of foot. So you have to draw all these 4 diagrams which are showing the maintenance of the different arches, and this completes your topic, the arches of foot. Thank you.